It's 11:30 p.m. on a Tuesday. You're sitting at your kitchen table, surrounded by crumpled receipts and three different browser tabs open to your banking portals. You've spent the last 2 hours meticulously assigning every single cent of your paycheck to a category. You've got a line item for organic kale and a line item for Netflix, and you've finally reached that holy grail of personal finance, the zero. Every dollar has a job. You feel like a productivity god. Then, Friday hits. Your car makes a weird clicking sound. Your best friend announces an engagement dinner at a place where the appetizers cost more than your hourly wage. By Sunday afternoon, your perfect zero-based budget is a flaming wreck in the rearview mirror. You feel like a failure, so you give up, order Thai food, and tell yourself you'll start again next month. Does that sound familiar? Because for most of you, that cycle is the reason you're still broke. My name is John, and I spend way too much time thinking about how traditional budgeting math is actually designed for robots, not humans. If you're someone who is tired of feeling like a prisoner to a spreadsheet, only to have it fail you the moment life happens, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Because here's the thing, zero-based budgeting is dead. It died the moment the cost of living became a moving target. In 2026, trying to account for every single penny isn't just tedious. It's a psychological trap that's keeping you poor. Look, we've been told for decades that the zero-based budget is the gold standard. The idea is simple. Income minus expenses equals zero. Income. Expenses, kisal. Shidal. But here is what most people don't realize. Precision is the enemy of consistency. When you try to be 100% precise, you leave 0% room for the chaos of being a human being. According to recent 2025 consumer data, the average American household now faces micro-fluctuations in monthly expenses of about 14% due to dynamic pricing in utilities, groceries, and subscription creep. If your budget is built on zero, and your electric bill comes in 20 dollars higher because of a heat wave, your entire psychological house of cards collapses. You didn't fail the budget. The budget failed you because it was too rigid to breathe. It's like trying to wear a suit made of glass. It looks great until you try to move, and then it shatters. Today, I'm going to show you the 50-30-20 upgrade. We're going beyond the basics and fixing the fundamental flaws in how you handle your cash flow. Let's talk numbers. Let's say you're taking home $5,000 a month after taxes. In the old world, you'd try to track 40 different categories. In the 2026 upgrade, we are collapsing those into three high-pressure buckets. First, you have the 50%, the survival floor. This is your needs: housing, utilities, basic groceries, insurance, and minimum debt payments. The math: $5,000 times 0.50 is $2,500. The problem: in 2026, for many of you in Tier 1 cities, your rent alone is hitting $1,800. That leaves you $700 for everything else. The revelation. This is where it gets really interesting. Most people think they have a spending problem. They don't. They have a fixed cost crisis. If your needs are at 65% or 70%, no amount of skipping lattes will save you. You don't need a budget. You need an exit strategy for your apartment or that truck loan you signed for when you were feeling impulsive. Next is the 30%, the Keep Me Sane Fund. This is your wants: dining out, travel, hobbies, and that 4K monitor you've been eyeing. The math: $5,000 times 0.30 usars equals $1,500. The psychological shift. Most financial gurus want you to cut this to zero. They want you to live on rice and beans until you're 60. Here's why they're wrong. Frugality fatigue. If you starve your wants bucket, you will eventually binge spend. It's like a crash diet. You eat nothing but celery for a week, and then on Saturday, you eat a whole pizza. The 30% isn't extra, it's the insurance policy that keeps you from quitting your financial plan. Finally, the 20%, the wealth engine. This is your future. Extra debt payments, 401k, Roth IRA, and your emergency fund. The math. $5,000 times 0.20 equals $1,000. The shocking stat. This is what most people miss. If you start this at age 25 with $1,000 a month, assuming a 7% return, you're looking at roughly $2.4 million by age 65. If you wait until 35, that number drops to $1.1 million. Waiting 10 years cost you $1.3 million. That is the price of figuring it out later. Now you might be thinking, John, $2,500 for needs is impossible. My rent alone is $2,200. The math doesn't work. I know. And I'm glad you're frustrated, because that frustration is the first step toward intellectual honesty. If your needs are 70% of your income, you are financially fragile. You are one transmission failure or one corporate restructuring away from total insolvency. You have two choices. You either lower the floor, move, get a roommate, or sell the car, or you raise the ceiling by increasing your income. But don't lie to yourself and say, I'm budgeting, while you're actually just subsidizing a lifestyle you can't afford with credit cards. Here's what most people don't realize about the human brain. We have a limited amount of decision maturity every day. Zero-based budgeting requires you to make 50 decisions a day. Can I buy this gum? Does this fit in the miscellaneous category or grocery? The 50-30-20 upgrade requires 3 decisions. It's the difference between trying to navigate a forest by tracking every single leaf versus just following a compass. When you use this system, you automate the 20% first. The moment that paycheck hits, $1,000 vanishes into your brokerage account. It's gone. You never had it. The remaining $4,000 is your playground. As long as the bills are paid and you're within that 30% want limit, I don't care what you spend it on. Buy the shoes. Go to the concert. Stop feeling guilty for living your life. The guilt is what kills the habit. In 2026, we are adding a new rule to this. The 2% flex. Within your 50% needs, I want you to overfund it by 2%. Think of it as a chaos buffer. This handles the fluctuating grocery prices or the slight increase in your Netflix sub. By expecting the unexpected price hikes, you stop the psychological spiral of breaking your budget. So, how do you actually do this? First, audit the needs. Go through your last 3 months of statements. If your needs are over 50%, highlight the biggest culprit in red. Don't ignore it. Stare at it until you're ready to change it. Second, automate the 20%. Set up a direct deposit from your payroll provider straight to your high-yield savings or brokerage. If you never see the money, you won't miss it. Third, the wants sandbox. Put your 30% want money into a separate checking account with its own debit card. When that card declines at the bar, you're done for the month. No math required, no stress. Look, the world is getting more expensive. The old rules of tracking every penny are just a way to make yourself feel busy while you stay broke. Stop playing small. Stop fighting over $4 lattes and start fighting over the 20% wealth engine. The math is simple. The psychology is the hard part. But you're not a robot. You're a person who wants to enjoy a meal without checking an app first. The screen fades to black for a split second before cutting back to John. He's leaned forward now, elbows on the desk, looking even more intense. Let's keep going, because we've only scratched the surface of why your money feels like it's slipping through your fingers. Most people hear 50-30-20, and they think it's just another math equation. It's not. It's a diagnostic tool for your life. If you can't fit your life into these buckets, your life is out of alignment with reality. Here is what most people don't realize. We are living through the era of subscription strangulation. In 2024, the average person was paying for roughly $218 a month in subscriptions. By 2026, that number is projected to hit $315 as every single software, car feature, and grocery delivery service moves to a recurring revenue model. This is where the 50-30-20 upgrade becomes your armor. In a zero-based budget, you're constantly trying to remember if that $14.99 charge was for the gym or the cloud storage. In the 50-30-20 upgrade, we don't care about the name of the company. We care about the velocity of the money. Is it a fixed commitment that keeps the lights on? It's a 50. Is it something you can cancel today without losing your house? It's a 30. But let's get into the weeds of the psychology, because this is where the real rich people are made. Most of you are suffering from what I call the middle-class margin of error. You make enough money to not feel poor, but you don't make enough to not care. So you live in this perpetual state of vague anxiety. You check your banking app, see a number like $1,200, and think, okay, I'm fine. But you're not fine. You haven't accounted for the $400 car insurance payment coming out on Tuesday, or the $150 birthday gift you need to buy on Saturday. This is why zero-based budgeting kills your spirit. It forces you to look at the $1,100 and realize that $1,190 of it is already spoken for. It robs you of the feeling of having money. The 50-30-20 system does the opposite. By segregating the wealth engine, the 20% immediately, you are giving yourself permission to spend the rest. Imagine the psychological freedom of looking at your wants account and seeing $300, knowing, with 100% certainty, that you can spend every single cent of that on whatever stupid thing you want because your bills are already paid and your retirement is already funded. That is guilt-free spending. And most of you haven't felt that since you were 10 years old getting a $20 bill from your grandma. Let's look at the hidden 50s. This is where people get tripped up. Most people think needs are just rent and food. No. In 2026, your needs include your financial reputation. Your minimum debt payments are a need. Why? Because if you don't pay them, your credit score tanks, your insurance premiums go up, and your ability to move to a cheaper apartment, to fix your 50% bucket, vanishes. Here's a concrete example. Let's look at a lifestyle creep scenario. Last year, you got a $10,000 raise. That's roughly $600 extra a month after tax. The zero-based person says, great, I'll allocate $100 to dining, $200 to a better gym, and $300 to my car loan. The 50-30-20 upgrade person says, my 20% bucket just grew by $120, my 30% bucket grew by $180, and my 50% bucket grew by $300. But wait, why would you increase your needs just because you got a raise? You shouldn't. This is where it gets really interesting. This is the wealth accelerator phase of the 50-30-20. If your needs are already covered at your old salary, you don't increase that bucket. You take that 50% and you shove it into the 20% bucket. Now, instead of saving 20%, you're saving 70% of your raise. If you do that for 3 years, you don't just have an emergency fund. You have FU money. You have the ability to walk away from a job that treats you like garbage because you've built a fortress around your lifestyle. Now you might be thinking, John, I have $40,000 in student loans and $15,000 in credit card debt. The 20% isn't going to retirement. It's going to a black hole. Look, I hear you. And it sucks. But here's the cold, hard truth. Debt is a tax on your past self. Every dollar of interest you pay is you paying for a version of yourself that spent money they didn't have. In the 50-30-20 upgrade, your minimum debt payments live in the 50%. They are a need. But any extra payment, the stuff that actually kills the debt, lives in the 20%. Why? Because paying off a 24% interest credit card is the single best investment you can make. It is a guaranteed 24% return. You won't find that in the S&P 500. You won't find that in crypto. You find it in your own mailbox. But here is the psychological trap. Many people try to put 50% of their income toward debt. They starve themselves. They cut their wants to zero. They don't see a movie. They don't buy a coffee. They don't breathe for 6 months. And then they snap. They have a treat yourself day that turns into a treat yourself month, and they end up with more debt than they started with. This is why the 30% bucket is non-negotiable. You must have a release valve. Think of your budget like a submarine. If the pressure builds up too much and there's no way to vent it, the whole thing implodes. Your 30% bucket is your vent. It keeps the hull from crushing in on you. Let's talk about the grocery lie. People spend hours clipping coupons and driving to 3 different stores to save $14 on chicken. They put this under needs. But let's be honest, half of what you buy at the grocery store isn't a need. The organic kombucha? That's a 30. The name brand cereal? That's a 30. The pre-cut watermelon that costs $8 more than the whole one? That is a 30. When you mislabel wants as needs, you lie to yourself about how much it costs to keep you alive. And when you lie to yourself about your survival floor, you can't make rational decisions about your career or your housing. In 2026, food inflation is expected to remain sticky at 3 to 4%. If you don't differentiate between calories to survive and calories for pleasure, your 50% bucket will swallow your 20% bucket whole. Here's what most people don't realize. The 50-30-20 rule is actually a freedom formula. If you can keep your needs at 50%, you only have to work 20 hours a week to survive. The rest of your work is for your future and your fun. But if your needs are 90% of your income, you are a slave. You have to work 40, 50, 60 hours just to keep the status quo. Is that fancy SUV in the driveway worth 20 hours of your life every single week? Because that's the trade you're making. We don't buy things with money. We buy them with hours of our lives. If you make $30 an hour and you buy a $200 iPhone, that's not $200. That is 40 hours of your life. That is one entire week of sitting in a cubicle, dealing with a boss you might not like, and commuting in traffic. Is that phone worth a week of your finite existence on this planet? Maybe it is. But the 50-30-20 upgrade forces you to see the trade-out. Yeah, it is hard. Being 70 years old and having to work at a grocery store because you can't afford medicine is harder. This is where the upgrade part of this system comes in. It's modular. It's a set of sliders. But the one thing you cannot do is lower the 20% to fund the 50%. If you can't afford your needs on 50% of your income, you are not middle class. I don't care if you make $150,000 a year. If your fixed costs are $130,000, you are one bad day away from poverty. This is the high-income poor trap. I see people all the time making $250K who have less net worth than a teacher making $60K who followed the 50-30-20 rule for 20 years. Why? Because the teacher respected the wealth engine. The 20% bucket is sacred. It's the seed corn. You don't eat the seed corn no matter how hungry you are. If you eat the seed corn, you have no harvest next year. So here's the game plan for the next 48 hours. I don't want you to build a spreadsheet. I want you to do a vibe check on your accounts. Step 1. The auto-save strike. Go into your bank app right now. Set up a recurring transfer of just $50 a week to a separate account. I don't care if you think you don't have it. Find it. That's your 20% bucket in training. Step 2. The subscription purge. Open your settings on your phone. Look at your subscriptions. If you haven't used it in the last 14 days, kill it. That money goes directly into the 20% transfer you just set up. Step 3. The 3-account architecture. This is the secret sauce for 2026. Account A, the fortress. Your paycheck lands here. All needs, 50%, are paid from here. Account B, the engine. Your 20% is sent here automatically. You don't have a debit card for this account. You don't even look at it. Account C, the playground. Your 30% is sent here. This is the only card you carry in your Apple Wallet. When it's empty, the fun stops. By separating the money physically, you stop the mental math that leads to overspending. You don't need to track every penny because the system tracks it for you. Look, The reason most people fail at money isn't because they're bad at math. It's because they're human. We are wired to seek instant gratification. We are wired to care what the neighbors think about our car. The 50-30-20 upgrade works because it accepts that you're human. It gives you room to be messy. It gives you room to buy the pizza and the shoes. But it also ensures that the future you, the one who is 65 and tired, is taken care of. The zero-based world is over. It's too brittle for the 2020s. We need systems that are resilient. We need systems that allow for a 14% swing in grocery prices without causing a nervous breakdown. Stop trying to be perfect. Start being consistent. The math of 2026 is simple. Protect the 20, limit the 50, enjoy the 30. Now you might be thinking, what if I have kids? What if I have medical bills? Those are real challenges. But they don't change the math. They just mean the needs bucket is heavier, which means the wants have to be lighter. It's a seesaw. You can't have both sides up at the same time. That's not how physics works, and it's not how finance works. Accept the trade-offs now so you don't have to accept the consequences later. If this resonated with you, I've got a deeper breakdown on how to handle the wealth engine side of this. Specifically, where to put that 20% so it grows the fastest in this high inflation environment. You can check that video out right here. Let's get real for a second. We've covered the buckets, we've covered the math, and we've covered the 3-account architecture. But there is a silent killer in 2026 that will melt your 50-30-20 upgrade faster than a summer heat wave. I'm talking about convenience creep. Here is what most people don't realize. In the last 2 years, we have been conditioned to believe that saving time is a need. We've convinced ourselves that the $15 delivery fee for a salad is a necessity because we're busy. We've convinced ourselves that the premium version of every app is a need because we need to stay productive. But look, if you are paying for convenience while your 20% wealth engine is empty, you aren't saving time. You are selling your future. If you spend $50 a week on convenience fees, that's $200 a month. Over 30 years, invested at 7%, that is $244,000. You are literally paying $250,000 to have someone else drive a bag of tacos to your house. When you look at it through that lens, the convenience starts to look like a scam, doesn't it? This is where the psychological shift really kicks in. The 50-30-20 upgrade isn't just a way to manage your cash. It's a way to reclaim your agency. Most people feel like life is happening to them. Bills show up, prices go up, the car breaks, the dog needs a vet, and they just react. They are on the defensive. The moment you commit to the 20% wealth engine, you go on the offensive. I'm John. I believe in you, but I believe in the math even more. Go build something. I'll see you in the next one.